I think we're just about ready.
Come on, Mike.
We'll wait for Commissioner Wright. I know she's in the building.
So me and Stephen from the school board, there was a young man in Nelly B who mama's lost custody of him. He's autistic. So I took him to get a haircut and stuff today. So that's why I'm
All right, about 15 seconds, everybody.
we took my book on. He's in sixth grade.
All right, good evening, everyone. It is Tuesday, August 1st, 2023, and you're joining us here at City Hall with the Athens-Clarke County Commission and myself, Mayor Kelly Gertz. We are here for our monthly business meeting, and we're going to begin with a roll call from Clerk Spratlin.
Davenport.
Here.
Link.
Here.
Tyler. Here. Mike.
Present.
Fisher. Here. Poole.
Here.
Culpepper.
Here.
Myers.
Here.
Thornton.
Here.
Hamby.
Here.
We have a quorum.
All right, thank you, Madam Clerk. First order of business is approval of the minutes of meetings of Tuesday, June 6th and Tuesday, July 18th, 2023. I'd entertain a motion for such approval.
So moved.
I'll second if the motioner is amenable to the two corrections in our email,
Yes, I did see the corrections, yes.
and to include the non-voting meetings, including the 25th.
Yes, I saw that also.
All right, we've got a motion from Commissioner Thornton, second with amendment from Commissioner Hool. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, minutes are approved. Madam Clerk, do we have any written communication this evening?
No, we have none.
All right, a couple of business items. We always begin our meetings with the civility pledge as provided to us by the Georgia Municipal Association. And the pledge indicates that the way we govern ourselves is often as important as the positions we take. Our collective decisions will be better when differing views have had the opportunity to be fully vetted and considered. All people have the right to be treated with respect, courtesy, and openness. We value all input. We commit ourselves to conduct ourselves at all times with civility and courtesy to each other. Now, with that said, I've got a very exciting opportunity that we're going to begin taking on a recurrent basis a few times throughout the year. You might have been here at commission meetings in the past where we've recognized some staff members for their significant accomplishments. I'm looking at Kent Kilpatrick, our Leisure Services Director right now, and of course always have award-winning staff in that department. Similarly with Solid Waste, the Police Department, so many more. But given the great work being done well outside of this building and the unified government, we want to begin recognizing some members of the public for their great work. So I'm going to come down to where Clerk Spratlin is to present some community recognitions. Madam Clerk. All right. The first of these is for Ms. Rashi Malcolm. Rashi, come on up. Woo. Come on, stand with me here now. So, Rashi Malcolm is Executive Director of the 501c3 Farm to Neighborhood. They were recently awarded $965,613,000 through Governor Kemp's Emergency Education Relief Fund to create the East Athens Wellness Experience. The primary goals of this project center around the addition of a commercial kitchen, along with a community garden, green space, and other improvements in the neighborhood of Nellie B. and Vine Street. And so, Rashi, we thank you for the work you do every day in this community, and we want to honor you for this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I just want to say that it's not my personal money.
I'm like a proud mom.
All right, thank you. Next up, we've got Twin Powers. we've got Sharon Barnett and Sheila Hill, otherwise known in the community as the Twin Angels. If they'd come up, good to see you. It's been so long. While they're coming up, I'll note Sharon and Sheila have deep roots in Athens, and they're gaining statewide attention for their extraordinary acts of charity. Recently, the twins organized a heartwarming luncheon to honor the unsung heroes of Athens-Clarke County, our dedicated teachers. They've also taken a proactive role in combating gang violence and have exposed local youth to a broad array of experiences by arranging trips throughout the state and beyond. The twins' impact on the community extends to their renowned annual Back to School Bash, which has grown to include Cedar Shoals High School in 2023. I don't think I've ever seen so many people crammed into the Cedar Shoals gym as I did on Sunday afternoon. And so as they continue to support the community, particularly our youth, we want to honor them for their work. Everybody give them a round of applause. Thank you,
supposed to be in the
twins,
middle
so
of the-
much.
you're
Oh, yeah, I should be in the middle, I know. You'd think I'd be accustomed to this by now. Thank you. All right, next, we are recognizing Heather Benham as Executive Director of the Athens Land Trust. I think one of our staff members here on Heather's behalf, come on up. The Athens Land Trust was recently visited by the U.S. Secretary of Energy, Jennifer Granholm. Athens Land Trust was selected as a partner by this government to provide increased weatherization for low and moderate income homeowners in Athens, expanding the great community work they've been doing for years through their conservation, housing, and youth development programs. And we're very excited because recently Senator Warnock recommended the Athens Land Trust for a $5 million appropriation for their youth development campus. So thank you so much for your work. Please pass this along. Thank you. Great work. Thank you. All right. Next, I'd like to honor Hattie Whitehead. Annie, come on up. Certainly, I think as just about any resident who's in Athens-Clarke County who has not been sleeping for the last 4 years knows, Hattie's helped bring attention to a dark chapter of Athens history through her work honoring the Linnentown neighborhood removal. This black community vanished during the urban renewal activities of the 1960s that Hattie chronicles in her book, Giving Voice to Linnentown, where she fearlessly shares her childhood memories and experiences. And she's been sharing this throughout this community, in schools and churches and beyond. Just this summer, the Linnentown narrative was featured in the New York Times, bringing national attention to the work we've been doing around reconciliation and reparations here in Athens. And thanks to the Linnentown Project's efforts, the Athens-Clarke County recently approved the Linnentown Resolution acknowledging this injustice, and Hattie, as chair of the Justice and Memory Project, has brought forward recommendations that the commission has affirmed by allocating funds to support affordable housing and a Center for Black Futures. And tonight, of course, the commission will consider renaming a segment of Finley Street to Linnentown Lane. So we couldn't be more excited about that. Everybody give Hattie a round of applause. Thank you, Hattie. All right, and last but not least for this go-round is Ms. Linda Lloyd. Linda, come on forward. So everybody, you know that Linda is recently retired as Director of the Economic Justice Coalition. During her 19-year tenure, she successfully led voter registration in Athens and surrounding counties, registering over 23,000 voters in collaboration. Amen. Of course, she worked alongside many local, state, and national organizations, and she developed nonpartisan educational curriculum to help new voters understand the impact of voting on their daily lives. Continuing the legacy of her mentor, Dr. Ray McNair, Linda's efforts resulted in numerous businesses and institutions opening up, including those that have adopted livable wages. Under her leadership, the Economic Justice Coalition established 3 business cooperatives, paying high dollars to many, including some inside this room and behind this rail. So Linda, thank you for all your work. So much. All right, thank you, everyone. We look forward to the next round. Thank you for all the supporters of this great work in this community.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, staff has a presentation to the commission, to you on their behalf, if you would indulge us.
I would appreciate that. Thank you. All right.
Who's being recognized? Oh, cute.
Mr. Mayor, as you mentioned at the beginning of the meeting, beginning of the meeting, you often mentioned that sometimes I've had the honor and pleasure of being able to come here and receive things from you. Tonight, on behalf of the SPLOST office and Leisure Services, we actually want to present something to you. Back on April 20th, this community dedicated the Firefly Bridge over Trail Creek, which is such a tremendous asset to this community. It really pays homage to the old railroad trestle that was there for many, many years. Since that time, the hundreds of people daily that use that trail have given so many compliments to the Leisure Services staff about the job that was well done, thanks to the lead of the SPLOST office here, but really thanks to the support of you and this group and this body of elected officials. So, Derek, you have something you want to present?
Mayor, on behalf of the SPLOST office and the whole Athens-Clarke County team, we had the opportunity to create a blueprint in the old style as a wall hanger for you, and just hope you enjoy it. It's the plan and profile and the structure that's there today, and so we hope you enjoy it. And
I love this. Thank you. Thank you, Derek.
And we have a print copy, which we showed around here too, and everybody see it. We have a print copy for each commissioner, so you can pick it up in Ms. Jean's office anytime.
Outstanding.
And I think thank you for this. It's very exciting. As I noted the day we cut the ribbon on the bridge, this really has been almost a generation in the making. I just, while we're standing here, want to recognize every staff member, every elected official, of which there were many dozens, and all the community members who supported this project, connecting places that were otherwise cut apart. So thank you.
October 20, October of 2000, the Mayor and Commission appointed the first road trip committee. It's been 23 years.
And thank you. Thank you so much. All right. I think we're ready to go home, right? We do have, in fact, a number of business items to take care of tonight, and there will be public input on each segment of our business. We'll have public input on the consent agenda. We'll have public input on old and new business. We'll separately have public input on each planning and zoning item. And then at the conclusion of the meeting, we'll have public input on any item not on tonight's agenda to which any member of the public would like to speak. Generally, input works in the same cadence, except for one planning and zoning exception that I'll describe when we get there. Public input is for a 3-minute segment of time. There's a light on Clerk Spratlin's desk. It will turn green when you begin speaking. It will turn yellow when you have 30 seconds remaining, and it will turn red at the conclusion of that time. And I'll thank you for your time and your comments. I'd always ask that everybody here just listen, because we'd have a lot of public comments. So while you may have some opinions or emotions about comments, just listen quietly so that way everybody can be clearly heard. Now is that time when we have public input on the consent agenda. And so tonight, the consent agenda are items numbers 1 through 12. And if any member of the public would like to speak to any of those items, again, 1 through 12 on your agenda, now is that time. And if you would just let us know your name and the item to which you are speaking when you approach the mic. Good evening.
Julianne Hamilton, Regional Director for the American Heart Association for Northeast Georgia. And I just want to say on behalf of the AHA, we thank you for your work to strengthen the smoke-free ordinance. We look forward to continuing to work together to improve the cardiovascular health of all in Athens-Clarke County. Thank you.
Thank you, Julianne. I appreciate it.
Hi, my name is Anna Kate Robinson, and I'm a volunteer of the American Heart Association, and I go to school at the University of Georgia. And as a student, I really care about the health of not only myself, but of others as well. And so by being able to be a part of helping with the smoke-free ordinance to include vaping, I think it will really add to the existing ordinance because it will protect the overall health of the community. And I think that it's very important to note that secondhand aerosols, they've been known to have heavy metals that could really be harmful to people's lungs and cardiovascular health. So with the help of you all to make this better, thank you so much.
Thank you, Anna Kate. Is there anyone else here who would like to speak to any of the consent agenda items? Is there any commissioner who would like to remove an item from the consent agenda? All right, seeing none, we handle the vote on the consent agenda with single vote, but we need to have Attorney Drake read any ordinances associated with those items.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, we have ordinance associated with items 1, 2, and 3. I'll read those now. Item number 1, an ordinance to amend the FY 2024 operating and capital budget for Athens-Clarke County, Georgia, so as to provide grant funding as awarded from the Georgia Governor's Office of Planning and Budget, Improving Neighborhood Outcomes and Disproportionately Impacted Communities Program for expenses related to Herd Park improvements and Satterfield Park tennis, pickleball, and football field improvements, and for other purposes. Agenda item number 2, an ordinance to amend the Code of Athens-Clarke County, Georgia with respect to smoking and for other purposes. And agenda item number 3, an ordinance to amend the Code of Athens-Clarke County, Georgia with respect to sidewalk cafes and for other purposes.
Thank you, Attorney Drake. Do I hear a motion for approval of these items?
Move to approve.
Second.
All right, I've got a motion from Commissioner Hool, and I have a second from Commissioner Taylor. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? All right, hearing none, motion carries, and we've dispensed with our consent agenda. Next order of public input is on old business, and so old and new business. And so these are items 13 through 25 and 36. So if anybody would like to speak to any of the old and new business items, again, 13 through 25 and 36, now is that time. Good evening. And just put that on the podium, and Attorney Drake will get that. Thank you. Okay.
Good afternoon, Honorable Mayor and Commissioners. I just wanted to come to support item 20, the Boys and Girls Club proposal. Things have gotten some better in Athens. If we look back over the last 3 years and look where we are today, there certainly are more youth-involved activities. I'm a firm believer that youth need to be in positive, structured activities, and certainly we have more of that than we had a year ago. It's my pleasure to walk over from EADC over to Herd Park and see all the youth that are involved there, playing chess, swimming, engaged in various other activities in the satellite library. I had the pleasure also this week or last week to walk over into Nettie B to the community center, and where the Boys and Girls Club now has opened that up in conjunction with other activities, and it really does my heart pleasure to see that, because knowing the value of those type of activities in our community and see that that is finally is happening, because oftentimes you heard me complain a lot and cry about we need to get these things up and rolling. So it's great to see them happening. And so from my standpoint, again, I want to say thank you for that. Of course, in the long run, we got to continue that, because to me, that is the answer to the violence and drug problems in the community. If we get youth involved in activities at an early age and keep them involved, then we will have better outcomes. So again, I just want to commend you and say, please support item 20. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Is there anyone else here to speak to old or new business? Again, that is item 13 through 25 and 36. All right, seeing none, we'll move to commission discussion. First order of business is the Government Operations Committee report regarding creation of the Public Safety Monitor function within the Office of Operational Analysis. Commissioner Davenport, would you like to make a motion regarding this item?
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
All right, I've got a motion from Commissioner Davenport, second from Commissioner Link. Commissioner Davenport, any comments?
It's been a long journey. I'm glad to get this finalized and move forward.
Thanks, Commissioner. Any follow-up, Commissioner Link?
Yeah, I'm just happy to see this moving forward. We have a public safety community oversight board, and this will be the staff member that works with that board, so we can move forward in some more citizen oversight of our public safety.
Thank you. Any other input from the body? Commissioner Houle?
Thanks. I appreciate all the work that's been done on this today, and I plan to support this tonight. I just hope that this body will be supportive of any proposals that the auditor may bring forth to perhaps staff an additional position. I know we have a little bit of funding left over with the way we passed the budget in June, and I'd love to see some of that funding go towards filling this position, and also to fulfill any other recommendations that come from PeaceCom. So, thanks.
Thanks, Commissioner. All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I'm opposed.
Commissioner Wright opposed. Please note that for the record, Madam Clerk. No, this is simply creation of that function within the office.
Which number is this?
Item 13.
Oh, there is, yes, there is, Mr. Mayor.
There is an ordinance?
Yep. I have it right here.
Please go ahead.
An ordinance to amend the Code of Athens-Clarke County, Georgia with respect to the internal auditor and for other purposes.
We need an additional vote for affirmation?
Yes, sir.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, please note for the record, Commissioner Wright opposed. All right, item 14 is the East Side Library Project proposed candidate sites. I'd entertain a motion. Who would like to place one on the floor?
A motion to approve?
Got a motion from Commissioner Myers. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, we have a motion from Commissioner Myers. I have a second from Commissioner Davenport. Commissioner Myers, any input?
Yeah, I just want to speak to this for a moment. I've had some, little bit of community input on this. The East Side Library will be on the east side where Commissioner Davenport and Taylor and I represent different parts of that community. And we've had a lot of community involvement. We have added, the user group that I chair has added the Southeast Clarke Park onto the list, and I had some citizens do reach out to me about that, and I want to share to the public what I told them. Was that the three other sites that are involved, one is a Athens-Clarke County property on Barnett Shoals Road, and the two other sites are the Kroger's and the Gaines School, the old Gaines School Elementary, some of the property in the back, not to replace any what the public schools have there already. There's uncertainty, there's possibilities for both of those sites, but there's uncertainties about it, both of them as well. The Barnett Shoals site is the one that we own, ACC owns, and if we get to a place where we are just looking at the ACC site because the others don't pan out, too expensive, the technical analysis doesn't show that they're appropriate for those places. We wanted to have more options. The Southeast Clarke Park actually got the highest rating of the sites. However, it was not included in the list of for the community to look at because it was outside the range of a walking distance from the elementary and middle schools that are there. So I hope that my fellow commissioners will support this. I look forward to the technical and cost analysis of this so we can make a real informed decision, and I expect that to come to us probably to the user group in October, November, and to this body by the end of the year.
Thanks, Commissioner. Commissioner Davenport, any follow-up?
Nope.
Any other input from the body? Commissioner Taylor.
While I am grateful that we do have a library that's coming to the east side, I do want to go on record to say that I am opposed to the southeast part location because in my community, it'll be hard for the children to get there. And so I just want to go on record to say that I oppose that location.
Thanks, Commissioner.
I do want to reiterate something I made, a comment I made at our work session that I also made to our neighbors, that at the user group, I did ask for agreement among the members that our preference was still that the walkability and to the schools was still a priority among us. So it was just a matter of a real backup plan here, so that in case those didn't work out, we wouldn't have to go through a whole process and delay the construction for another year. So I'm with you, but I'm going to go and see how the whole process plays out.
All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Moving on to item 15, the Facilities Space Modernization Project, candidate site selection. Commissioner Hamby, I know you've submitted with Commissioner Houle a CDO. Would you like to place a motion on the floor?
I'll make the motion, sure, if that's, Commissioner Rule worked on writing it up, but I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Any follow-up, Commissioner Hamby?
No, I think what I think we're trying to achieve here is look at, one of the most feasible sites and the government-owned sites and narrow it down. And if those don't work out, we can revisit it with the Site Selection Committee and go from there.
Follow-up, Commissioner Houle?
Thanks, yeah, and I appreciate my colleagues' support on this. Yeah, I think the only thing I'll add is that, as we move through this process, obviously there's analysis to do, but there's probably going to be some conversation with federal government officials, and I hope that we will see those ACC-owned parking lots as an opportunity for leveraging that real estate in those discussions. So I'd just like to encourage that as part of this. And also note, thanks to staff for the follow-up, the cost per site was estimated to be about $40,000 per site. There's some nuance around how that gets applied and how you split it up, because some stuff has to be done whether there's only 2 or all 5 sites, but roughly speaking, that's about $120,000. So,
any other input from the body? Commissioner Fisher?
Yeah, with the Facility Space Modernization Project, I would like to make sure that we vet all the sites, especially with the one with the federal building, based on the number of employees, and what I understand is it's more than 100 employees within that particular facility. And although they may be in and out in the field, they still have to be housed somewhere. So we need to make sure that if that's going to be, seems like we may be zooming in on that particular location, possible, that we vet that and we make sure we do have federal support. And then we got to figure out where we're going to put those folks. We got them in, and we have to think about security. That place is secure there, so all those things need to come into place. So we just need to be mindful of that if we're really looking at the federal building we're looking at a land swap, that we vet this process really well before we make a decision on site selection.
Thanks, Commissioner. Commissioner Davenport?
Yeah, I might make another motion to look at all the 5 sites that the user group had decided on, and the reason why I still support with the user group, we worked really hard. We looked at 5 potential sites, and this is going to be a 100-year project. I don't think the taxpayer want to build another courthouse in the next 100 years. So I want to make sure that we get this right and look at all 5 sites that the user group had selected, so we can make sure we, instead of just narrowing it down to 2, I will feel more comfortable that we looked at all 5.
I've got a substitute motion from
I'll
Commissioner
second that
Davenport. Is there a
substitute.
second? All right, got a second from Commissioner Thornton. Commissioner Thornton, any follow-up?
No, I think that looking at all 5 sites, and especially the sites that are non-traditional to downtown, and looking at our land use plan that we're working on, we do not just want the downtown or west side or whatever. We would want all of our areas to grow. Of course I'm pushing North Avenue, but I do think that just looking at it, there may be some other potential that might even come out of the other sites. So I think it's a good to look at all of them.
Any follow-up discussion on the substitute motion? Commissioner Wright?
I just wanted to make a comment that I do think that it's important for us, whether it's this or anyway, while we're looking to locate pieces, that the priority should be property that we already own, if it's feasible, because of the money. I mean, we already don't have enough money to build it, so spending money to try to buy something or to relocate part of our staff. Anyway, I'm supportive of the original motion.
All right, got a substitute motion on the floor. Madam Clerk, you do a roll call with the substitute motion, beginning with Commissioner Davenport.
Davenport,
Yes.
Link,
No.
Taylor,
No.
Wright,
No.
Fisher,
No.
Poole,
No.
Culpepper,
No.
Myers,
Yes.
Thornton,
Yes.
Hamby.
No.
3 yes, 7 no.
All right, thank you, Madam Clerk. We'll return to the original motion, begin with Commissioner Hamby.
Hamby,
Yes.
Davenport,
Yes.
Link,
Yes.
Taylor,
Yes.
Wright,
Yes.
Fisher,
Yes.
Poole,
Yes.
Culpepper,
Yes.
Myers,
Yes.
Thornton.
Yes.
10 yes.
I thought, I was trying to get a piece in on the discussion about the federal building site. Do we have any idea how long or what will be the time span? I mean, I know we got to go through a lot more bureaucracy than a normal, but does that impact?
What I can say is that, given the affirmative vote just now, that enables the manager and I to have direct communication with the blessing of the
Okay.
body. And so I think we can follow up with some answers. I think those are great questions.
Okay.
All right, we are moving on to item 16. Item 16 is the Sandy Creek Park Playground Replacement Design and Construction Services Contract Award. I'd entertain a motion regarding this item. Is there a motion from the
Move to
body?
approve.
Second.
I've got a motion from Commissioner Link and a second from Commissioner Taylor. Commissioner Link, any observations about this item?
I love Sandy Creek Park. I was floating around the lake just the other day, and I'm looking forward to these improvements.
Thanks, Commissioner. Commissioner Taylor?
I think that this is going to be a great facelift for Sandy Creek. I think that us paying attention and updating all of our parks are important. It gets our communities out and about and active, and so putting things like this forth is great for our community.
Thanks, Commissioner. Any further? I'm excited. Next time I go canoeing out there, I might have a new slide on down. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Item 17, staff has requested be held. I'll entertain a motion to hold.
So move.
Second.
I got a motion to hold from Commissioner Hamby, second from Commissioner Thornton. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, hearing none, motion carries. All right, item 18 is the Public Safety Vehicle Subproject 3, the project concept. I'd entertain a motion. Motion for approval.
So moved.
Second.
I've got a motion from Commissioner Wright, second from Commissioner Thornton. Commissioner Wright, any follow-up comments?
Nope. Ready to vote?
Commissioner Thornton,
Nope, ready to vote.
any other input? Commissioner Hool?
Just to explain why I'm going to vote no. I just deeply regret that we keep dramatically increasing the physical size of our county's vehicles, given the overwhelming evidence that larger vehicles, such as SUVs, are far more dangerous in crashes, whether that's with pedestrians, cyclists, or other motorists, than smaller vehicles, such as sedans. So if we must choose between hybrid SUVs or non-hybrid sedans for our public safety vehicles, because that's all the market is currently giving us, I believe that sedans would be the better option. So this is not a no for giving vehicles that are necessary to our staff. It is a no to the dangerous size of the vehicles that we are voting on tonight.
Thanks, Commissioner. Commissioner Link?
I share Commissioner Hull's concerns about large-scale vehicles, but I have noticed that this particular vehicle seems to have gotten smaller. So I mean, and I know there aren't many options out there, and this is a real need. So, I'm just, as someone who just recently bought a new car and was searching for an electric vehicle of a smaller size, I know how difficult it is to find anything out there. So we have very little choice, and I hope the market will go in another direction on that soon enough.
All right, motion to approve, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, please say aye.
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 All right, I've got Commissioner Hool and Commissioner Taylor opposed. Please note that for the record, Madam Clerk. Thank you, I appreciate that. Item 14, staff has requested to be held. Entertain a motion to hold.
So moved.
Second.
I got a motion to hold from Commissioner Wright, second from Commissioner Hamby. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that will be held. We'll see that coming back. Item 20 is the contract approval for the contract approval for the Boys and Girls Club. Commissioner Hool had a commission-defined option. Would you like to make a motion at this time?
Sure, I'll move to approve the commission-defined option that is in everyone's inbox.
Second.
Got a motion from Commissioner Hool, second from Commissioner Thornton. Commissioner Hool, would you like to just kind of note those modifications?
Sure, yeah, and I do want to really highlight, I mean, Commissioner Fisher, actually, I thought might make the motion, but yeah, I mean, he's really been the lead figure in this moving forward, I would say, and I really appreciate that. This CDO basically just amends the contract, or well, the attachment one on the contract, to include additional assessment of the program and its participants with regard to violence prevention. Do you want me to read aloud what it says, or just for the record?
Sure.
Okay. As follows. Assessment of participants' sense of safety at home, at school, and in the community. Assessment of participants' exposure to incidents of violence at home, at school, and in the community. And assessment of participants' involvement in incidents of violence at home, at school, and in the community. The above can be achieved through an addition to the pre-post assessments of at least 10 survey questions regarding the above, and/or periodic interviews or focus groups that are conducted with participants before, throughout, and after program participation. If the Boys and Girls Club sees fit to hire a third-party evaluator to conduct such assessments with regard to participants' experience with violence, and if additional funding is required to achieve this end, then the Boys and Girls Club is encouraged to return to the mayor and commission to request funds specifically for that purpose.
All right. Thanks for noting that, just since it was relatively recent. Commissioner Thornton, any follow-up?
I appreciate Commissioner Hool calling me after he spoke to Commissioner Fisher. Those words, I think, covers everything that I was concerned about. I do want to go on record that the assessments should also guide us to an outcome. We don't want to just be testing folk and assessing folk and not have a plan of action. But I do believe that will probably be picked up at some point down the road. So I'm not just agreeing to assessing and testing. I'm still aiming at outcomes and changes. The other thing is we budgeted money into the budget for mental health for youth or people and families that have experienced gang violence and violence or domestic. So that is in the budget in another pot of money. So there's room when we need to help families to intervene. We do have some other financial resources.
Commissioner Fisher.
And I want to thank my fellow colleagues for agreeing to move forward with this proposal. I think it's timely. I appreciate one of our community members coming forward to talk about the great work that the Boys and Girls Club has been doing and continue to do. And I think it's just the right step in order to start helping our young people in this community guide in the right direction. So I want to thank especially my colleague Taylor, Commissioner Hood, for also chiming in on this. Well, I think it's the right thing. I'm glad that we're moving forward, and I'm looking forward to the outcomes and some of the solutions that I think is going to be needed to help our young people move along the way in the future. So thank you.
Thank you. Is there a budget ordinance to read, Attorney Drake?
Oh, good.
Okay, so just wanted to verify.
Just confirm that we have given the contract to the Boys and Girls Club. I would ask for an amendment to allow the contract to be approved in substantially the same form as attached to the agenda item. I don't anticipate, if there's any substantive changes, I would bring it back. The director said he was fine with it, but he wanted his attorneys to look at it. We weren't able to get it to him until yesterday, but he responded, the director did that he was fine with it, but he wanted his attorneys to look at it. So I'd hate to have to delay this any. As long as there aren't any substantive changes, I would like to get approved in substantially the same form, that way we can move it forward. Does that make sense?
I'll amend my motion to approve the commission-defined option and accompanying contract in substantially the same form as has been currently drafted by our attorney's office.
Is that good with you,
I'll
Attorney?
still second.
Yep, perfect. Commissioner Myers?
Yeah, I'm supportive of this as well. I'm really excited to see us finally moving forward with some of this youth development money and getting it out where it's directly impacting our youth. I want to express my appreciation for Mr. Finch, who's the director of the Boys and Girls Club, reached out to me and we met. He wanted to talk about some of the topics that I brought up at our agenda-setting meeting. And I appreciate how the Boys and Girls Club and the Attorney's Office, I'm not sure who was involved, worked to further elaborate some of the outcomes that my fellow commissioners here have already talked about, and also to emphasize the importance of long-term sustainability. And that's one of my biggest concerns, not with passing this, but how we're going to continue it. Because there's almost $1 million in there for these new centers to be open and open on the weekends. And then another $1.5 million, more than that, for the Boys and Girls Club services and the delinquency program initiative. I know that one of the outcomes the Boys and Girls had was attaining 2 different grants, and I know they have a very good fundraising arm, but I think that's something we as a commission need to be talking about and thinking about way before May comes along, how we're going to do that. I also expressed some concern about reaching out to some of the neighborhoods that are not in the public housing, but where there is a lot of gang activity. And I know that the Boys and Girls Club and Mr. Finch talked to me about ways of reaching out to those kids, getting buses to some of those communities to get kids to the Boys and Girls Club, and also including that the programming that goes to some of those other communities as one of the criteria that, in terms of evaluation, which programs, which of the subgrantees will be receive funding. If they're working with those communities, they would get extra points in that evaluation. And I also wanted to point out that I hope that through this process of DPI, there's a whole analysis, and it's setting up a plan, and you're going through the plan and implementing it, and there may be changes down the road, and I know that the attorney has addressed those in the contract. I also noticed in our next agenda item that we're also going to be working with the school district on another plan with youth violence, and I am hoping that we can collaborate, share resources, and share insights here, and it to be a joint effort and a community effort. So I will be supporting this, and I'm happy to see it moving forward.
Thanks, Commissioner. Commissioner Thorne.
My only comment is, I know we had to change the, how we were rolling out the funds. And I wasn't sure whether this was going to be done on reimbursements or it's reimbursements. And have we figured out how we can get those reimbursements out a little faster than we've done in the past?
We'll certainly look into that, but it's not that complex, but I would say that it's a two-way street as long as we can get all the information we need from the nonprofit. Generally speaking, our turnaround time is pretty good, but we'll make sure that we get it out in sufficient time.
I want the Boys and Girls Club to be comfortable and secure. They do not need to be struggling trying to figure out when.
I can speak to that. Under this contract, we'll be fronting the funds.
All right, that's
each
the
month.
25.
Well, all the 25 and plus each monthly expense.
Okay, the monthly.
Yes,
So it's not reimbursement.
Not this one.
There will be advance payments.
Okay.
However, they're going to have to provide receipts in order for them to get their funding,
Okay, I'm
continue to
good.
get their funding, right?
Okay. And is the plan to make sure we spend these funds before the end of ARPA deadline?
Yes, ma'am. So the deadline is 2026, and I think we have the contract ending, Judd, correct me if I'm wrong, I think July 2025.
Okay. And this goes to some of Commissioner Meyer's statement about ongoing funding. We surely do not want this to drop because funding dries up. So there needs to be some conversation ahead of time. So that was the reason I asked that question. Thank you.
Commissioner Fisher.
So the Boys and Girls Club, they are comfortable with the proposal that we have put forward with the upfront money, so we're good there. I think moving forward over the next several years, we still got money left, and they may come back to the table and ask us for more funding, and it's something that we will have to look at. But at the same time, I think Commissioner Myers mentioned, their skin in the game and be part of their board and talk with their community partners of fundraising, keep these things going. Because one thing I don't want to see, especially in our community centers within the housing authority, we have to close those again. And I think we need to make sure we maintain those centers open at all times, and we may even be looking at in the future open up a couple more. So we just need to be mindful of that, and as we look forward, look at what we might raise funds for those. Again, getting our business partners involved, and then see what we got left in our youth development fund moving forward. See whether or not they will come back to us for more money. So, but they're comfortable with how we getting started.
And I do want to raise to the top of, just to put it out there, about communities that are not in public housing facilities. There needs to be a discussion about that too. So I'm just putting it out there as we move along.
Because the Boys and Girls Club has such a footprint that's been in Athens, Georgia. I'm 35, and I went when I was 5, so I would say at least a 30-year track where it wasn't just children in public housing that was being helped by the Boys and Girls Club, but they also work hand in hand with our school district. So for those students who don't live in public housing, they actually get on the bus when school lets out, and they go into the Boys and Girls Club.
Commissioner Houli's hand.
Yeah, just seeing where this conversation is going around sustainability, I did want to point out that this expends a substantial portion of the ARPA money that we've designated towards youth development and violence prevention. It still leaves quite a bit for us to put towards something else. I imagine agenda item 22 is going to get into that and maybe figure out how we, spend the rest of that. But I say that to say there's been dozens of community leaders and organizations that have approached us with hundreds, if not thousands, of people working on projects in the community that are very worthy of elevated support, and we've struggled to figure out how to channel what we've been both blessed and cursed with, this kind of novel one-time influx of ARPA money. And so I really appreciate Commissioners Fisher and Taylor, finding a way to say, well, let's take some action now while we figure out how to take action on the rest. But I do hope that the action we take on the rest will follow some kind of process that all of those organizations and people can find a way to apply into as appropriate.
And what we have talked with Manager Williams about is that nonprofits that are boots to the ground would be able to partner with the Boys and Girls Club in some form or fashion to be able to serve those communities that can't get to the Boys and Girls Club. So I think that we have covered all the bases as far as getting as many youths serviced by the Boys and Girls Club and local nonprofits as our reach. Is there still work to be done? Absolutely. But right now, I think that we are off to a very grand start. So I'm proud of everyone.
And we'll be talking about a little more of that work in just a minute, the next agenda item for discussion. So there's a motion as amended and a second on the floor from Commissioner Sewell and Commissioner Thornton. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. All right, you'll note item 21, the bond for the Classic Center Authority will be visited on August 15th.
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor, I believe maybe the correct procedure might be to make a motion like we did on the other ones, to hold it until July 15th or to August 15th, since it's already on the public agenda. But, and I'll make that motion to hold it until August 15th.
Second.
But I would like to add this. As part of the agenda report for that August 15th meeting, I would like for this body to see a signed contract between the master developer and the Classic Center Authority. I'd also like to I'd like to see something addressing Commissioner Myers' question at the last meeting. I believe Commissioner Myers asked this about what future requests may be anticipated in building this, so that we have a full picture of what we're being asked to do and what we may be asked to do as this project is moving along. So, we've put a lot of time in looking at all these different bonds, but now we need to start giving that oversight that's necessary. So, thank you.
So we have
It was a motion and a
Motion to
second.
hold. Yeah.
Attorney Drake, you got all that?
Yes, sir.
Just
I
want to
did.
make sure.
Signed
Right.
contract, master developer, and future requests.
All right.
Yes.
And given that pending work was rationale for the delay. So all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. All right, continue with the youth development theme. Very excited and appreciative of Dr. Gant and Dr. Hooker, Clarke County School District. After dancing for a long time with a fellow institution, we've come up with an intergovernmental agreement. You might think that it's typical that a government, whether it's a city or a county, and a school district has an operational plan in place, but in fact, that's somewhat atypical, just given the nature of a couple of large institutions and their individual priorities. So I'm really appreciative of everybody who's worked on that to get us this far. We, of course, have quite a few funds left, over $3 million, and so we'll seek to work with the school district to positively direct those funds for the benefit of youth in the community. And to Commissioner Meyer's earlier note, I fully anticipate that we will benefit from any analysis that's being done by the Boys and Girls Club around community needs and violence prevention. And this also contemplates a 11-member steering body, created jointly by the district and the unified government. And as what I've been describing is the appetizer for our lengthier meal. This designates just north of $150,000 toward some developmental youth sports activity that's been long desired by the high school programs, in particular for both boys and girls. So certainly be happy to entertain a motion regarding this item.
Second.
Motion from Commissioner Taylor, second from Commissioner Fisher. Commissioner Taylor, any follow-up?
I'm just gonna do whatever it takes for the kids because they're our future, and we have to put things in place to make sure we catch every child that we can. If it starts with a steering group, and also with the partnerships between the local government and the school district. I think that it's very important that we all aren't just separate entities, but that we all work together in partnership, because that's the only way that our entire community thrives and grows in partnership. So, there you go.
Commissioner Fisher?
Yeah, and thank you, Mayor, for putting this together. You know, I was initially went too excited about that because how long sometimes these what I call blue ribbon panels committees take, but thank you for continuing to negotiate with the school district for putting all this together. And I'm not sure who you're gonna put on it, but I would be a willing participant or volunteer if you want somebody from the commission to be a part of that committee. So, but thank you again for bringing the two entities together. And to echo Commissioner Taylor's sentiment, I think it's good that we start building these partnerships around our community with other entities so we can have a better community. So thank you again.
Thank you. Commissioner Link?
Yeah, I'm happy to see this coming together, and I'm happy to see this partnership. It's long overdue. I am a little disappointed on the somewhat exclusive focus on sports activities. You know, we see studies over and over again that prove the positive mental health benefits of arts and nature activities on children. Not every kid is oriented towards sports. I wasn't oriented towards sports. My brother wasn't oriented towards sports. But we were able to have, you know, stay out of trouble and have successful experiences growing up because my mother very much steered us towards the arts, and we had access to nature and an appreciation of it. And I know as an adult, you know, my own mental health is positively impacted by spending time in nature and engaging in creative activities. There are also lucrative careers in those fields. So I would hope that there would be some serious consideration for youth development activities that focus very much so on the arts and on on nature and outdoor activities outside of sports.
No, I'd echo your hope for that kind of broader array of activities. We understood this was a program ready to go. And so again, it's sort of the hors d'oeuvre, it's the appetizer. And so much like I have my spring rolls first and then there's some rice and curry, I'm looking forward to what follows this. So, Commissioner Houle?
Ever the poet. I appreciate those metaphors. Yeah, just, you know, as we're moving forward on this, and I'm excited to see us do so, I would just like to emphasize a desire for us to approach evaluation in a similar manner to what the CDO for item number 20 spelled out. And that's actually a place I really think this government can step up, specifically in thinking of what novel thing or things can we do with this ARPA money that haven't been done before. You know, providing a more robust evaluation of programming, both for the projects that we fund and maybe even some we don't that others can maybe meet the criteria for and benefit from. I think may help us tackle this bigger question of like what role do different youth development programs or different school district programs play in reducing violence and helping achieve successful outcomes for our youth. So I'm specifically interested, to put a nutshell version of this out there, specifically interested in seeing how we will articulate evaluation as a part of what we move forward with.
Commissioner Myers, then Commissioner Thornton.
Yeah, first of all, I'm glad to see this moving forward here, and I reiterate what I said before, that I hope we have a bridge here between the Boys and Girls Club initiative and this work. And in fact, looking over this just now, I think it might be it might be worth considering having someone from the Boys and Girls Club on this steering committee here to make that bridge very explicit from the beginning. So I'm excited to see that going through. I just want to speak briefly to that money that's going for the sports program. It's $155,000, and it is the hors d'oeuvre, as we're saying here. But one of the things that I thought about here was, if you do have youth, and my girls were not sports people, but I was way back when, things have changed from way back when, because sports has become a very expensive activity for kids to be involved in. So people go to people are in traveling leagues when they're fourth grade, and they're high expense things. So the idea that there are these sports programs that are going to be available to kids after school in various areas, I think it was included volleyball and track and field, along with maybe football and basketball, I can't remember. But I'm excited that that's there, and that's a low cost or no cost for all the kids in our community at every elementary school. I mean, that's fabulous.
Commissioner Thornton.
I was just going to, I think Carol said, Commissioner Myers said pretty much what I was going to say, because I do think even with sports, this is a start. This is where we begin at. That's the main thing. And so you can't get it all at one time. But I do think even with sports, you learn other things. You learn how to be courteous. You learn how to be creative. So I don't think people just play sports just for exercise. I think there's a lot of wealth learning, informal learning that can also happen. I hope that the Boys and Girls Club, Commissioner Myers did say, I hope that someone from the Boys and Girls Club is serving on this committee, or at least be involved, so you don't have all these different segments. There should be a place where everything kind of comes together. So I hope that we're just not creating cubicles and kind of opening it up. So I know I can't micromanage nobody's work, but this is a great opportunity, again, I think, of working together in collaboration.
Thanks, Commissioner. All right, I have go ahead, Commissioner Hoop.
I just want to kind of make the case for evaluation briefly, that orgs who are focused on being boots on the ground and doing the work, including the many, many small orgs in this community, if we find a way to effectively provide evaluation and fund it, it can help them tell their story, it can help them focus on what's most effective about what they do, and it can help them leverage the data that's collected in that story that's told to get more funding that we can't provide, that we won't have available. A lot of these smaller orgs that are doing great work can't do the evaluation part, but the evaluation part is so critical, not only for their success, but I think also for us to figure out whether what we're doing is really working. So that's just what I mean by evaluation. And I'd also like to note the Boys and Girls Club proposal does mention partnering with Envision, and I infer from that they'd be working with the Athens Wellbeing Project. So there's already kind of these resources, I think, looped into that we can probably plug into that we've worked with before.
And I'd certainly note that evaluation portends the notion that there's going to be some future activity, and I think that's what we all hope for, is to see some sustained funding, whether that's through the Community Foundation or beneficent giving or other sources. So excited about this.
I just have a question for Commissioner Hull. So so you see storytelling as part of evaluation or separate?
Yeah, I think by storytelling, I guess I mean, like, people say like data tells a story. So you have your quantitative data, you have your qualitative data.
Okay.
If you aggregate all that, it tells a story. What's going on in this community, who's benefiting, who's suffering, what's working,
And so
what's
that's
not.
part of the evaluation tool, though, you're talking
Yes,
about? Okay.
yes.
All right, I've got a motion on the floor from Commissioner Taylor and a second from Commissioner Fisher. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Attorney Drake, given that there's allocation of funds, do we need an ordinance?
There's not an ordinance.
Okay, this is just intergovernmental agreement. I see.
Yes.
All right, moving on to 23. This is an agreement between the Unified Government and the University of Georgia regarding sharing of public transit reimbursements from the Federal Transit Administration Small Transit Intensive Cities Fund. And I would entertain a motion
So
from any
moved.
member of the body regarding this item. I have a motion from Commissioner Thornton and a second from Commissioner Hool. Commissioner Thornton, any follow-up?
No, I think that, here we go again about collaboration and working together. We do, there were some bumps and lumps, but we're here at a good place. I thank Commissioner Culpepper and Commissioner Fisher for explaining this to me, so I could understand it. But we're back to collaboration and working together.
Thanks, Commissioner. Commissioner, any follow-up?
I just have one question for staff, maybe if they could help clarify in brief, why the proportion that we've landed on here, 40% of the funding comes to ACC, 60% to UGA.
That's been the historic split, and it was based on an agreement that was forged some years ago where they looked at the actual ridership and the university of the riders that were reported to the National Transit Database. 60% of them were university riders and 40% were Unified Government ACC Gov Transit. And that fluctuates every year, of course, and COVID, but we maintain that split in this agreement.
So I guess what follows up for me, I guess, is if that proportion changes in terms of ridership, can we expect that a future agreement would probably change the proportion of funding as well?
Well, it does change. I mean, it's not exactly 60-40. For instance, it could be in the university's favor this year, ACC Gov's next year. But this is a one-year agreement, so we certainly can revisit that. I would also point out, as part of the agreement, that there is a joint interest and intent to look at the routes, try and make them more efficient. That's going to have some implications as well. So it's worth revisiting, I think, at the next time.
Okay. And then I guess maybe just the last question related to this is, we're looking at current ridership. If we're proposing a transit plan that would expand service if we had more funding, is that a way to make the case for a different split?
Possibly, but it is a negotiation, and we'll see if they would be open to that. But for fairness, it's usually look at what has transpired and try and project that forward. Okay. But I think we're certainly open to that.
Yeah, I guess maybe just as like a parting thought on this, it's very likely that we will get more ridership if we have more frequency or if we're going to places that we're not currently going to. And so I would just hesitate to let the rule for how we measure what to split be entirely based on what people are currently using, because it's hard to use a resource that doesn't come to your neighborhood or doesn't run late enough for you to get back home from work when you took the ride into work. So.
Thank you. And Mayor, if I might, just for the benefit of everyone in the viewing public, this is meant to bring more federal dollars to the community. The way that it works with the federal government is that you can only get reimbursed for 50% of your expenses. And so the community is allocated so many funds, we can only draw down about 2/3 of that roughly. And so we're leaving money on the table with the university being able to, and that's been part of the issue is them gaining the status, and they have it now, and that we would apply separately for the reimbursements. And we're agreeing on how to split the funds, to bring more funds into the community and collaborate together.
Thanks for that, Manager Williams. Commissioner Wright?
Yeah, I just wanted to add a comment that another way that the math is done with this is by ridership, which we used to have by fares, and the university has a very live count with theirs, and I believe that we're moving in the direction of the count happening so that we're not surveying people to get a count for who's riding our transit now that it's fare-free. So I think that as it moves forward, that we are getting better numbers for both of us, so that when we have these touch points every year to go over it, that we have data for both sides that are equally counted versus a survey versus count.
And if I'm not mistaken, I think the way the 60-40 was originally derived, it was an average of the previous 3 years that got us to that point. And that just became sort of the basis for our agreements up until that last agreement expired pre-COVID. And then since then, the 5307 money, we've been getting CARES Act money and ARPA money. So anyhow, I appreciate everyone's patience and appreciate the university's partnership.
Thanks, Manager Williams. All right, I've got a motion on the floor from Commissioner Thornton and a second from Commissioner Gould. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. All right, item 24 is an amended agenda item on the judiciary request for ARPA funds.
I make a motion to approve.
I've got a motion from Commissioner Myers, second.
Second.
A second from Commissioner Taylor. All right, Commissioner Myers?
Yeah, I looked at this very carefully over the last couple of days, and I know there's been some pushback on this, and perhaps I'm missing something here. I know that the district attorney's office has some empty positions, but presently, the district attorney doesn't have any legal assistance, which I assume would be filled by paralegals. And that equals about $106,000 of the money, where the rest of this money, the other, I think it's about $600,000, is going to the AV equipment. My understanding, too, is that these are temporary positions. These are not positions that we are approving for the long-term budget of Athens-Clarke County, and that they're coming from the ARPA judicial funds, not any funds that we have. And perhaps the manager's office can clarify whether or not what I just said is factually correct.
You're factually correct.
Commissioner Taylor, any follow-up?
No.
Commissioner
Sure.
Hamby?
I just want to also clarify something as well, and I believe you sent a memo out that suggested that the expenditure for these funds could be used till 2026, but in the agenda report, it still has 2023 listed. Is that just an oversight in the agenda report, or is that still the case?
Well, so, and I'm just returning to, so to the federal government, it has to be spent by 2026. This is being passed through to the various circuits, judicial circuits, by the state. And so the state has its own, this is for a year's expenditure. What I'm not clear is whether if we don't spend it, we give it back, but you can reapply for more funds for 24. So it's different from all the other ARPA funds that we've been talking about, you've been taking action on. It's coming from the feds to the state to the circuits, and the circuits, the Chief Superior Court judge is making these recommendations on how to spend them.
Okay, so I guess I'm just wondering, come December of this year or September, we're not going to be on the hook for the rest of the year assuming we're going to reapply. We're not going to be on the hook for the rest of the year for these temporary positions.
Yes, and I'll let Assistant Manager Jones address that. All of the ARPA funded positions are temporary, and based on the ARPA funding, it's a reimbursement basis. So if that funding should not be available any longer, then that would be the end of that employment.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Yeah, question, Commissioner Fisher?
So,
Unless the commission chose to continue it.
yeah, and that's my point. So, once these funds run out, we have to put that within our budget if we want to continue funding those particular positions?
Well, you're not committed to it, and I think what this request from our judicial branch speaks to capacity needs. And so it would, as y'all are the decision makers around resource allocation to the government, at the time that the ARPA funds end, I think there will be some consideration if that capacity is continuing to be needed. Case in point, I know there's been talk about trying to play catch-up, on a lot of the judicial cases. And so hopefully that will happen at some point in time, and we can compare what capacity needs there are. I'm sure the district attorney's office will articulate that at budget time if they feel like they need them, and then y'all would make the ultimate decision.
And what would be the starting salaries for those? Do we know the starting salaries for those two new positions?
I don't.
We can get that for you.
Yeah, I'd like to know because, again, we're already having some difficulties in getting people hired, actually across the board. So I want to make sure what that salary will look like, and will we be really competitive to get somebody hired to work in an office. So I'd like to know that.
And these are two legal assistants which
Right.
do not exist currently.
Yeah, that's why I want to know what salary.
So
It's listed in here at $53,200.
Oh, is it?
that's the half, the 106, yeah.
Okay.
Commissioner Davenport, did I see your hand?
Yes, I thought we split, at our last meeting, we split split the question, if that's a...
I think there was discussion of that prospect. But obviously, we don't formally split the question at the agenda setting meeting. That only happens when we're going to take a vote.
Special call meeting.
Or it was special call, yeah. So we ended up kicking the can down the road to today.
But
We
with
approved
special
that.
call, shouldn't we be voting on two items?
No, we'd have,
So we approved the AV items before, and we kicked the staffing.
There we go, okay, yeah.
If I could, Mayor, I've subsequently, in response to your question, Commissioner Hamby, the grant period with the state does go through the end of '26.
Okay.
And the government is not obligated to fund the positions beyond the grant period at the end of '26.
I thought I saw that.
Commissioner Houle?
Thank you. Yeah, I just, so, I understand there's not really a great way to do this formally as part of the approval tonight. And I also understand that we can't formally bind a future commission to a given action, especially around the budget. So, I plan to approve this tonight, but if there's some way that staff can bookmark, highlight, keep to the forefront the language of this proposal for future budget discussions around staffing. I think if we look at the rationale and descriptions put forth in the application for these positions, it's very clearly structured around a temporary position to address a backlog. But I think, what we're all maybe fussing about here is that oftentimes a position starts temporary and people like it, and then you want to keep that position around. And my support of this tonight comes with the understanding that either these positions will in fact be temporary and won't be needed after some time, or that if these positions are to be kept, they would replace other full-time positions that are in our budget but are currently vacant, so that the total number of positions in that department would remain the same in a future budget according to this commission. So I hope that that's clear, and I hope that whatever language applies to that in this staff report will be retained as part of the facts and issues or the history of a future agenda item.
Commissioner Meigs?
yeah, and I just want to clarify, because I asked for clarification on this myself, that this is, once again, these are legal assistant positions. They're not assistant district attorneys, and just like we discussed, I believe, in previous discussions of the district attorney's office and staffing, we can't just take this, say, oh, man, we already got some money in there that's not being used, we're going to put this into legal assistance, legal assistant positions. So that's not an option. We're not taking that money, and this is money, my understanding of this was that this was in this grant that's coming through to us, and you had to use the money for what was put forth in that grant. So it's either, it seems to me like kind of a use it or lose it situation as well.
All right, there is a motion on the floor from Commissioner Myers and a second from Commissioner Taylor. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, hearing none, motion carries. All right, we have two items of new business, so at this time, I need a motion for suspension of rules.
So moved.
Second.
All right, we got a motion for suspension of rules from Commissioner Fisher, second from Commissioner Thornton. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, so moving forward, first item of business is appointments to various boards, authorities, and commissions. Commissioners have that list of nominations in front of them. I'd entertain a motion at this time.
Move to approve with one comment.
Second?
Got a motion from Commissioner Houle, a second from Commissioner Myers. Note of comment, Commissioner
So
Houle?
yeah, I'm super appreciative of everybody who applied to this, and I'm excited about the lister moving forward. I want to be very clear that this remark has nothing to do with the person that we're appointing in this fashion, but I am concerned about our ability to appoint non-residents to some of our BACs, and I hope that that's something that we can address in the future. My understanding is that that's allowed because at least this particular development authority, maybe others, allow it if that person has a business interest. But I do think that opens the door for some undesirable potential outcomes. Not saying that that's what's happening today, but that it could happen in the future, and I hope that we'll look at that at some point, either when Government Operations Committee is looking at BACs or perhaps at a retreat.
Thanks, Commissioner. All right, there's a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, so just to note the list very quickly, and I'm not going to note the term lengths, but to the Athens Downtown Development Authority, we have Jeff Bishop and Andrew Radcliffe. To the Athens in Motion Commission, we have Lauren Blaze, Juliana Jager, Alan Jones, and Arthur Edison. To the Department of Behavioral Health and Developmental Disabilities, Catherine Hill. To the Development Authority of the Unified Government, Gustavo Burnman and William McGowan. To the Division of Family and Children's Services, we have Shay Post. To the Human Relations Commission, we have Simone Munsami. To the Joint Development Authority of the Unified Government of Athens-Clarke County and Winterville, we have Stephen Cantani. To the Planning Commission, we have Alexander Sams. To the Vision Committee, we have Carrie McLaughlin, Carrie Ritzler, and Marshall Sandoval. To the Development Authority of the Unified Government of Athens-Clarke County, we have Commissioner Mike Hamby. To the Joint Innovation Corridor Joint Development Authority, we have Elka McConnell. And to the Residential Care Facilities for the Elderly Authority, we have John Culpepper, Rob Trevina, and Beverly Logan. Thank you, everyone, for your willingness to serve in these volunteer capacities, including those behind the rail. All right, moving on to item number 36. This is a settlement regarding taxiway reconstruction and realignment at the Ben Epps Airport. This is a proposed settlement with the Astra Group. I'd entertain a motion for approval.
So move.
Second.
All right, I've got a motion for approval from Commissioner Hamby. I've got a second from Commissioner Davenport. Is there a ordinance to read with this, Attorney Drake?
No, Your Honor.
No, it's just a settlement, no ordinance. All right, any input?
No, this is just something that we are trying to work on settling with the folks helping with us, our runway, unless Commander Williams wants to weigh in.
Well, it had to do with some delays that happened at the airport based on some existing site conditions, and both parties agreed that this was the way to go.
All right, any follow-up, Commissioner Davenport? Any other input from the body? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, hearing none, motion carries. All right, we're moving forward to planning and zoning items. Planning Director Brad Griffin is going to step forward. We have a slightly different protocol with these items in that one advocate and one person opposed may have a 10-minute slot of time in addition to other individuals having 3-minute slots of time. So give just a second for the reconfiguration. All right, so we are going to begin with item 26 regarding 125 Baxter Drive. We have one individual signed up for the 10-minute slot, so I'm going to call Jeb Bradbury to the podium. Good evening.
How you doing? My name's Jeb Bradbury. I live at 120 Fortson Circle. Came to speak against this rezone. People bought homes knowing that University Garden Apartments were behind them. They could see what was there. They have invested in their homes knowing what was there with RM2 zoning. Now you have a vote to change that drastically. This vote is to double the density of the existing facility, but with this vote, using inclusionary zoning, you're tripling the density. Let us talk numbers. Existing, they have 444 bedrooms. RM3 will increase the density to where they could build 928 bedrooms. But inclusionary zoning can increase that to 1,392 bedrooms, making this the largest apartment complex in Athens-Clarke County. In my opinion, they're kind of hoodwinking you into thinking this is being done for more affordable housing. So let's do the math. 1,392 bedrooms times 15% is 209 bedrooms. Right now, they have 444 affordable bedrooms. During the Planning Commission meeting, they talked about the reason they wanted to redevelop this site was 8-foot ceilings. They wanted to do 9-foot ceilings. Well, when you start talking about 9-foot ceilings, you're talking about luxury housing. You're not talking about affordable housing. So my point is they're reducing affordable housing by over 50% in this development. The applicant's assertion in number 10 of their rezoning report that it will not be a deterrent to the adjacent properties is simply false. I'm telling you, it will affect property values in and around Fortson Drive. In the Planning Commission meeting, the petitioner said all they want to do is replace the building that burned down in 2012. The owner bought this property in 2013, a year after the fire, so they never had the right to replace it to start with. They knew what they bought. The problem is we just don't know what is going to be built here. The neighborhood is not necessarily against the redevelopment of the property, but we would support working with this developer, a new owner, in a planned development with height restrictions is to not be higher than the existing buildings. We do not support a straight rezone that can triple the density and double the height of the buildings. The building that they have said that they want to replace is a two-story building, and they want to replace it from 26 bedrooms to 40 bedrooms in a three-story building. We're also a little bit concerned about traffic. If you put this many units in here with the 3-lane of Baxter Street, when you're letting schools in and out, it already backs up dang near a quarter of a mile each way from Clarke Central when they're letting out at 3:30, Clarke Middle when they're letting out, and also Alps Road School. My wife has a business on Baxter Street, and I see the traffic there. So my point is with all of that traffic on Baxter, what happens is the people will come out on Dudley Drive, turn left, and come through the neighborhood down Fortson Drive. Much the same way that I do on Hancock. I go down Sunset. Because when we 3-laned it, it created a backlog of traffic there. I also want to speak, and I think someone else is going to speak to displacing of existing residents. Out in, off Lexington Road, I forget the name of the project out there, we had a lot of people that got displaced, and it created a lot of problems, and I think you're headed down that same thing with this project. One of the things that they keep talking about in the staff report was they also want to go from mixed density residential to Main Street business. That's creating a commercial corridor right up against a single family neighborhood. And right now you've got that buffer there of RM2, okay? But the real kicker to me is in planning in their report talks about the fire in 2012. The fire in 2012, that they bought it and they didn't have a chance within that year period to rebuild. Well, I kind of wanted to find out exactly what happened with that fire. So this morning, I took it upon myself to call the fire department and find out that this fire was actually not in 2012, but this fire actually occurred on March the 3rd, 2009. 4.5 years prior to the time of them buying the property. So my point is they knew what they were buying, and now they're wanting to rezone it. And for a petitioner to come in there, I won't say they lied, I'll just say they spoke with a forked tongue. And that they didn't quite tell us the truth. In 2009, I called the planning office and I asked, where did y'all come up with 2012? And they said, well, that's what the petitioner told us. Okay? So that's my problem, that's my speech. I didn't want to take your time, but if y'all want to trust a guy from California and a architect from Atlanta to say what they're going to do and then do it. But here, Judd, I want to give you, this is the fire department, Clarke County Fire Department report. This is the newspaper article out of the Athens-Clarke Herald that reports the fire of being in 2009. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bradbury. All right, we've got, appreciate everybody's either interest in any level of emotionality around the speaker, but I need to hear the folks at the podium. So is there anyone else here to speak to 125 Baxter Drive? Good evening.
Hey, how you guys doing? My name is Steve Everett, and I live at 120 Fortson Drive. I've had the pleasure of meeting many of you at different meetings at times along the way, and I appreciate everybody's service to our community. As it pertains to the 125 Baxter Drive property, you know, I have a huge issue with going from RM2 to RM3, right? I mean, here we're in a situation where it is essentially, as I read it, and I'm a novice in all this, but I went to the Planning and Zoning Commission, and basically it gave the developer a blank slate to be able to do whatever they wanted to do with that property at some point along the line, right? And without having to come back to you, this board here, and to say, get your approval to do it. It could all be done administratively. So first off, these folks, the developers, never spoke with anybody in the neighborhood. So I live right behind University Apartments, and nobody from the development company ever came and spoke with us or any one of the representatives. So we had no input whatsoever on what they were doing. Personally, I think it needs planned development. You know, that's something that's a very technical issue, but you know, it needs to be done, and it is something that you guys can enforce as part of this whole thing. The thing that really concerns me most of all, but there was a potential displacement of the people who are living there today. You know, I'm in business, right? Every business is looking to make money, right? If they're investing money, what are they going to do? You know, they need to get a return for their investment, and they're going to raise their rents, and they're going to raise it, and the people who are living there today will not be able to afford the housing that they have currently. So that's a huge issue for me. And then finally, you know, the developers are California-based, right? They have no vested interest here in Athens, Georgia. They own some land, they own some apartments. Clearly, it would be nice if they improved the apartments that are there today or rebuild the building that is there. But to take it and give them just a long leash without any return or any oversight from you guys, I think is a huge, huge mistake. And I respectfully ask that you reject the motion to move it from RM2 to RM3, and you know, bring us back to a place of reasonableness in this. And I appreciate your guys' time and thoughts and all those good things tonight. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Everett. Is there anyone else here to speak to 125 Baxter Drive? Good evening. Yeah, Attorney Drake.
My name is Nancy Everett. I live at 120 Fortson Drive, and there's not much new that I can say here other than I'm up here to ask you to please vote against this. Rezoning that property from RM2 to RM3 is going to destroy the integrity of our neighborhood and the integrity of Baxter, and also the other properties on the other side of Baxter. What they want to do is too large. There's been no direction given by the developer on what they're going to, they haven't let anyone know what they're going to do, and to approve that would not be good. And let's not set a precedent for other properties around the city by giving developers a blank slate to do whatever they want. Let's take control of our city and be more cognizant of what the residents want too. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Everett. Is there anyone else here to speak to 125 Fortson Drive? Good evening.
Honorable Mayor and Commissioners, my name is Brandon Smith. I live at 196 Fortson Circle with my wife. I'm here in support of Jeb and resisting this zoning change from RM2 to RM3. The only thing I'll add, I'm a real estate professional in town just like Jeb. I'm not anti-development by any means, but I'm pro-smart development. And this to me, I've dug into it and it doesn't make a lot of sense. The two concerns I have personally for myself and my wife, we do a lot of walking in this neighborhood, we do a lot of running. The fabric of the neighborhood will be changed by the traffic that will overflow from Baxter Street into our neighborhood currently. I already see it to a certain extent on Fortson Drive during high traffic hours during the day, but I can only imagine if you quadruple the number of apartments right there, that it'll be devastating to the Fortson area in general. The other thing I'll say is that I honestly believe this is not, I understand the need for affordable housing in Athens. There's no doubt that that is an issue that needs to be worked on. This is not going to help that issue. I can tell you as a real estate professional, the development they're going to do, it will decrease the number of affordable units that are available and increase the number of luxury units that are available in this town. And I just wanted to come and make my voice known, and I appreciate y'all's time. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Smith. All right, is there anyone else here to speak to 125 Baxter Drive? All right, seeing none, we'll entertain discussion. I think Commissioner Hamby, this is in your district.
Sure. Thank you, Madam Mayor. And I'm going to just go ahead and make a motion to deny the rezone request.
I'll second.
All right, I've got,
Mr. Mayor, just to clarify, there's a future land use map change and a rezone on this, so I'll need to read both. So
Commissioner Hamby, do you want to
I'll
begin
make
with
a
future
motion
land
to
use?
deny the future land use map change.
All right, got a motion to deny future land use.
Can I go ahead and read that?
Second from Commissioner Link, if you could read that
All right,
ordinance.
an ordinance to amend the Code of Athens-Clarke County, Georgia with respect to amending the future land use map of Athens-Clarke County by changing the designation of approximately 18.56 acres of land located at 125 Baxter Drive from mixed density residential to Main Street business and for other purposes.
Thanks, Attorney Drake. Other input, Commissioner Hamby?
No, I think the folks here that commented tonight made some good points. I do think that we out, certainly a plan development to answer some of the questions that haven't been answered in this, such as what the affordability would be. In the petition, it's 10 to 15%. Doesn't mention what the AMI would be or any of that sort. So also what you would do if people are displaced and how that would be handled. And what it would look like and how it would integrate with Baxter Street, with the neighborhoods behind there and across the street of Baxter Street. So there are a lot of unanswered questions here, and certainly I think the folks here tonight expressed those, and I'm glad to continue and look and request that a future request to rezone this and have a plan development associated with it so that folks know what to expect and go from there. But I appreciate y'all's support on this.
Follow-up, Commissioner Link?
Yeah, I think the folks that spoke at the podium had lots of good points, and, quite frankly, I'm not opposed to increasing density here to some extent, but what's being proposed is massive. It would have it's 18 acres. That's a huge tract. This would basically be giving them a blank slate to put the mark right there on Baxter Street. It's already a pretty stressed area. I do most of my shopping in that area, and they're right. The capacity for more traffic there is not there, especially with the schools and the library and grocery stores and stuff. If this were, and there's no doubt in my mind that this is intended to be future student housing. There's no doubt in my mind. I know the folks who live there do not want to see that, and I don't believe this is an appropriate location for that. It's not necessarily all that close to campus or downtown, and every single one of those students comes with a car. It's not like family housing where you might have 1 or 2 cars per household. You will have a car for every bedroom, and they will use those cars. The bike facilities on Baxter are not that great. Only seasoned cyclists dare to use them. There's not even, an overwhelming supply of buses on that area. So it's not necessarily very walkable because of the terrain. It's not all that fun to walk in that area. So I have no doubt that, this would definitely massively increase the number of cars on the road and certainly impact the surrounding neighborhoods and snarl up traffic. And not just the Fortson Drive area, but the Rock Springs neighborhood, which has tiny little streets and is really hurting for on-street parking. I would love to see the developer come back with a plan development that sticks to this site plan, this non-binding site plan. The site plan we've been given is non-binding. And if they were to just, stick to redeveloping those portions pointed out in that site plan, we might have something to go with. But this gives them a blank slate. So I'm eager to see it redeveloped, but not with a blank slate.
Any follow-up input? Right, there's a motion and a second to deny the future land use. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right. We need to follow up with a motion regarding the zoning. Commissioner Hamby?
Sure, thank you, Mayor. I'll make a motion to deny the rezone request.
I'll second.
All right, and ordinance?
An ordinance to amend the Code of Athens, Clarke County, Georgia, with respect to rezoning a parcel of land comprising approximately 18.56 acres located at 125 Baxter Drive from RM2 CG and RS15 mixed density residential mixed density residential -2, commercial general and single family residential 15 to RM-3 mixed density residential -3 and for other purposes.
All right, I've got a motion to deny the zoning from Commissioner Hamby and a second from Commissioner Wright. And any follow-up? Commissioner Hool?
Yeah, I'll just add that, I think somebody put it well when they said there's, denser development could be good, but it has to be done right, essentially. And I think part of doing this right, a plan development is a good way to go, certainly some kind of binding site plan. But I would also hope that if this particular applicant wants to come back through, that they take a look at some of the things that we have on the books or we have in development to ensure affordability and ensure a better process. So even if not a robust community benefits agreement, at least taking advantage of our inclusionary zoning ordinance to tackle some of the specifics that Commissioner Hamby spoke to around AMI and other things related to affordability. And while it might not be required in an ordinance, you should really talk to your neighbors before you come through the process like this.
Yes, you should.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion carries for denial. All right, we're moving on to item 27, and as with the previous opportunity for anybody who would like to come speak to us regarding 2460 West Broad Street to do that at this time. 2460 West Broad Street. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Mark Campbell. I'm with Carter Engineering. I'm a civil engineer for this project. It is for a proposed Town Place Suites by Marriott Hotel. Appreciate the work of staff on this piece of property that was originally rezoned back in 2008 with conditions. There's a lot that's changed since 2008. However, since that time, the property has not yet been developed. One of those conditions that has been problematic was it actually required this property to not have connection onto West Broad Street, but to connect to Beach Haven Drive. As you can imagine, those residents on Beach Haven Drive did not have any interest in a commercially zoned property connecting through what is currently a private residential drive. So part of this rezone would be to seek to change that condition. It's already zoned commercial general, but to keep it commercial general and have the only access be to West Broad Street. Since the Planning Commission unanimous approval, I had an opportunity to reach out to some residents of Beach Haven Drive, had a meeting with them in June. If you've never been back there, it's beautiful. And our plan or process for this proposed hotel for Mr. Manesh Patel, who owns several properties here in the Athens-Clarke County area. I most recently had an experience with him to be able to develop the Fairfield Inn and Suites by Marriott that's off of Old Epsbridge Road. So if you're familiar with that project, kind of back behind the Longhorn there, it doesn't directly have frontage there on West Broad Street, but that's a high-quality development. He seeks to do a similar thing. This is his hometown. He wants to continue to develop here, but to have good development. It's rare that we get an opportunity to develop a hotel on 6 acres. That allows us the opportunity to provide necessary buffers around the perimeter of the property and specifically not connect to Beach Haven Drive, to have only connection via West Broad Street, to protect the stream that's on that property as well, that other developers in the past have maybe come before you and tried to pipe that stream, to have more of an environmental impact. That's not part of what this plan would be. So we certainly appreciate the work of staff. It's given us time to work with GDOT for a reasonable solution at that existing curb cut where there's already traffic that's coming through that area, to limit that traffic so it doesn't come through Beach Haven Drive, and then hopefully give an opportunity for a local person to have a positive impact in this area. Again, my name is Mark Campbell. I'm happy to answer any questions you have, but I certainly appreciate everything y'all have done here tonight and the things that you continue to do.
Thank you, Mark. I appreciate that. Is anyone else here to speak to West Broad Street? All right, it's in District 2.
Yeah, I think this is a perfectly reasonable request. I appreciate the developer's consideration of that private drive street. And it sounds like they're certainly considering the environmental impact and the fact that this property abuts a really valuable natural area. So I move to approve.
Second.
Commissioner Hool, any follow-up?
Not unless there's debate.
We'll stay quiet. All right. Got a-
Silence.
got a motion from Commissioner Link, second from Commissioner Wool. If you could read the ordinance, Attorney Drake.
An ordinance to amend the Code of Athens-Clarke County, Georgia with respect to rezoning a parcel of land comprising approximately 6.44 acres located at 2460 West Broad Street from CG Commercial General conditions to CG Commercial General and for other purposes.
All right, thanks, Attorney Drake. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion carries. All right, we're moving on to 115 Joe Carey Road. Is there any member of the public here to speak to this item? It's in District 3. Commissioner Taylor.
Just to reiterate what I said at the work session, I am grateful to see that there is a home that's been provided for our elderly community, and so I'm all for it.
Would you like to make a motion to approve?
Yeah. Motion.
Ordinance.
Motion to approve.
I second it.
Conditions.
I second it.
Motion from Commissioner Taylor, second from Commissioner Hool. Any further input from the body?
Yes.
Yeah, Commissioner Davenport?
Don't forget Pat.
I will be recusing myself
Because?
because of family, because the applicant is my family.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate the explanation. All right. Please note, Madam Clerk, that Commissioner Davenport will be recusing. Any other input? All in favor?
Aye.
And, I'm sorry.
An ordinance to amend the Code of Athens-Clarke County, Georgia with respect to special use approval in the AR Agricultural Residential District on approximately 2.26 acres of land located at 115 Joe Carey Road and for other purposes.
All right, we'll just affirm. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Any opposed? All right, thank you. And recusal from Commissioner Davenport.
Mr. Mayor, I just want to make sure that it was clear that my approval of the previous item was to include the conditions laid out by the Planning Commission.
Yes, that was the proposal.
Yeah, that was my intention. I'm not sure if I made it clear.
Yes.
Oh, no, but I did.
Yes, but both of these were approval with conditions. All right, we are moving on to 3080 Danielsville Road. Is there anyone here to speak to this item?
Mark Campbell, Carter Engineering. Again, I'll speak briefly on this one. It's a little bit different, but from the Planning Commission, it was really an opportunity for this special use permit on a property that is very narrow but very deep. So to have a special use permit for a veterinary clinic, it certainly allows an opportunity to provide a service in that area that does not currently exist. Staff has done a great job of making sure that with this binding site plan, tree management plan, that all the i's are dotted and t's are crossed. So again, appreciate the work of staff and the Planning Commission to see a positive project on this. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Is there anyone else here to speak to the Danielsville Road project?
Hello, Danielle Berry with Blue Frog, 3011 Sutton Gate Drive. Just wanted to come back to you guys. I was here a couple weeks ago and just say how excited we are that it was approved at the last meeting with conditions for the veterinary hospital, and we're very excited to bring it to the community. Help provide services for the local residents as well as the opportunity for employment as well. So, thank you.
Thank you, Danielle. Anyone else here to speak to Danielsville Road? It's in District 9. Commissioner Thornton?
I don't know if I should recuse myself since my son is a veterinarian looking for a job. But now I should recuse, right? I will say that I'm excited about this development on that end of town. I think that you'll find more economic opportunities in Athens coming from that area. I think that pets and animals are becoming like people. People love their animals, and to have good veterinarian care is very, very important. So I'm very excited to support this. I make a motion. Is this an ordinance?
Yeah, it'll be an ordinance.
Okay. I make a motion to approve this ordinance for the veterinarian.
With conditions.
With conditions. With conditions.
I've got a motion from Commissioner Thornton. Is there a second?
I second.
All right, got a motion from Commissioner Thornton. I've got a second from Commissioner Myers. Commissioner Myers, any follow-up?
No comment.
All right. Ordinance, Attorney Drake.
Ordinance to amend the Code of Athens-Clarke County, Georgia with respect to special use approval in the CN Commercial Neighborhood District on approximately 6 acres of land located at 3080 Danielsville Road and for other purposes.
Thanks, Attorney Drake. Any other input from the body? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say aye. All right, hearing none, motion carries. All right, item 30 is a text amendment regarding the procedure for renaming streets. Is there any member of the public here to speak to this text amendment? All right, seeing none, I'd entertain a motion for approval from.
So move.
Second.
Got a motion from Commissioner Hamby, second from Commissioner Wright. She had her finger up. I think she was trying to beat you to the trigger.
Oh, she was trying to beat me.
I'm sorry. But that's all right. It's a collaborative effort. All right, so I've got a motion from Commissioner Hamby, got a second from Commissioner Wright. Commissioner Hamby, any
No.
opining
No,
about the
thank you.
text amendment?
I appreciate this putting in because the last one, the first renaming I had, they were specifically looking for a street that didn't affect any addresses. So it's a thing.
Any further input on the text amendment? All right, Ordinance, Attorney Drake.
An ordinance to amend the Code of Athens, Clarke County, Georgia with respect to general regulations and for other purposes.
All right, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, hearing none, motion carries. All right, members of the public, now is the time when you can speak.
31.
31.
No, that's about what I was going to say. Members of the public, now is the time when you can speak to item 31, the change in name from South Finley Street to Lindentown Lane, if you would like to speak to item 31.
He's like, wait for it.
All right, and entertain a motion from any member of the body.
So moved.
I'll second.
All right, got a motion from Commissioner Fisher, second from Commissioner Link. Commissioner Fisher, anything further?
No, sir.
Commissioner Link?
I'm very excited to see the renaming of this street happen. I mean, I think it's particularly important in these times when there's so much concerted effort among the powers that be to erase this kind of history. We've already had this community erased. We need to assure that these stories are told into perpetuity, and a named street will continue to tell the story of this community and hopefully allow us to learn from our mistakes and honor the legacy of those who came before us, and assure that justice is served in some way.
Thanks, Commissioner Link. Further input? All right, Ordinance, Attorney Drake on 31.
An ordinance to amend the Code of Athens, Clarke County, Georgia with respect to changing the name of the section of South Finley Street that runs from Baxter Street to Cloverhurst Avenue to Lindentown Lane and for other purposes.
Follow,
Real
Commissioner
quick
Davenport.
question. So I'm glad to see this to go through baby steps, but how soon will that sign change?
Any idea from Streets and Drainage about how long the physical signage would take?
It shouldn't take very long at all.
They've been preparing.
Got the template. I think they've got those letters in their database.
I mean, a couple of days, perhaps. I don't want to, I haven't spoken to staff for that specific question, but it's a routine production, a routine installation.
Will we be notified? Like, is there
Ceremony.
like
Well,
a
and
ceremony?
I was going to ask that question, so thank you, Commissioner Taylor, because I know, Commissioner Wright, you were interested in having a ceremony, I think.
Yeah,
So
and-
we can certainly coordinate with AJMP
It
and the
can be
commission.
coordinated because, Brad Griffin was instrumental in helping us get that planned and properly and ready for when we were going to gather for Thumba Avenue.
But with if a consensus of the commission, we will plan a date and invite, and we will have the unveiling at that point.
Thanks. Appreciate that, Manager Williams. Thanks for that. And I want to thank everybody who led us here. Obviously, we talked to Hattie Whitehead earlier and celebrated her. There are several members of the Justice and Memory team. Commissioner Hamby's here. So thank you to all of them. So all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, hearing none, motion carries. All right, now is in fact that summative time when there's public input on any item that was not on this evening's agenda. If there's any member of the public who would like to.
I should one more item, Mr. Mayor. Item 33, related to, it's a report has an ordinance with it related to there was an increase in the amount of a grant we got, we needed to do an amendment for.
Thank you. And if folks want to line up, would any member of the body like to make a motion to approve receipt of the grant associated with item 33?
So moved.
Second.
I've got a motion from Commissioner Hamby, second from Commissioner Link. If you want to read that ordinance, Attorney Drake.
An ordinance to amend the FY 2024 annual operating capital budget for Athens-Clarke County, Georgia, so as to provide additional grant funding from the 2022 Public Safety and Community Violence Reduction Grant, PSCVRG program for hiring and recruitment incentives and for other purposes.
All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. All right, now's that time. If you'd like to speak to any item not on our agenda tonight, you can line up right at the podium. And same rules of public input apply, 3 minutes.
Okay.
Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor and Commission. I will ask that the Pitter Road stakeholders would stand. We have been meeting since the meeting that took place on April the 27th, 2023. So I'll just read a brief summary of what we are asking. The Pitter Road stakeholders have been impacted negatively as enviro victims due to industrial dumping in the soil where we grew acres of crops, and we were affected by remaining on faulty well water. Many of our neighbors, over 31 people, were diagnosed and or died with various cancers. We were present during the last investigation report. We are not satisfied with the findings of the presentation brought to the Pitter Road environmental meeting on April the 27th, 2023. We are asking for the Athens-Clarke County Mayor and Commission to present a timeline for the actions listed as they were discussed during the Pitter Road environmental meeting held at New Grove Baptist Church and streamed by the church at the 58-minute and 47 mark. One, we're asking that the Department of Public Health is requested to do a second cancer cluster study. We're asking that land is tested, both soil and wells. We're asking that an outside specialist help review what was shared with us. And also, the discussion of storytelling was discussed, and we're also asking for additional funding to be set aside for storytelling.
And just for the record, if you could read your name into the mic.
Yes, Tawana Maddox, 295 Fairway Drive, representing Pitter Road.
Thank you, Dr. Maddox.
Thank you.
All right. Other members of the public who would like to speak to any item not on tonight's agenda?
Hello, my name is Brandon McKinney, and I'm representing 290 Pitter Road. I would like to add, I'm also speaking on in regards to Pitter Road, but I would like to just tell a story. So I stand before you today to share a story of tragedy and injustice that has plagued my family and the community of Pitter Road. Our once thriving neighborhood has been devastated by the illegal dumping of toxic chemicals into the lake by DuPont, resulting in the poisoning of our water supply. The consequences have been dire, with well over 31 lives lost to cancer and other diseases, and countless others still suffering. I have lost personally my great-grandmother. I've lost my auntie, Betty Flint. My mother is a 3-time breast cancer survivor. I have my cousin, Regina Edwards. She's a breast cancer survivor. My cousin, Pamela Gary, she suffers from kidney disease. And the future still remains uncertain, so we don't know what more is to come. My sister here, she has spent 10 years, she's 30 years old. She has been going to the hospital out of fear that she will have breast cancer. So let me just give you a little history. Go with me on a history walk. In the early 2000s, around 2003, 2004, an investigation was initiated with agencies such as the EPA was called out to test our water. Now I'm gonna pause there because they said that they came out to test water, but as we met with Pitter Road, no one ever said that their water was tested. To our dismay, they declared that the water was not contaminated, assuring us that everything was fine. The case was closed and sealed, leaving us feeling unheard and abandoned. However, we, the people of Pitter Road, firmly believe that this conclusion couldn't be further from the truth. We implore your assistance in unsealing this case and shedding light on the reality we face daily. Our community's health and well-being are at stake, and we cannot We cannot burden this injustice any longer. And I mean that's emotionally, mentally, physically, and financially. We need your support to bring justice to those who have suffered and to prevent further harm to our beloved community. By unsealing this case, we can uncover the truth and hold DuPont and others accountable for their actions. We seek transparency, accountability, and a thorough investigation into the extent of the contamination and its long-term effects on our community. We believe that only by bringing this issue to the forefront can we begin to heal and rebuild our lives. That's why I'm urging you, as our elected representatives, to stand with us in this fight for justice. Our voices need to be heard, and our concerns must be addressed. Together, we can make a difference and ensure that no other community suffers the same fate.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank
Kennedy. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Kiera Gary Trammell, and I stand before you for 290 Pitter Road as well. Today I address you on behalf of 203 concerned residents and stakeholders of Pitter Road and Star Drive. Our community faces an urgent and distressing issue, industrial dumping by DuPont/Invista and other identified parties. For generations, Pitter Road and Star Drive has been our haven, providing fertile land for crops and sustaining our livelihoods. However, the unregulated dumping of hazardous materials has changed everything. Our soil and water sources are now contaminated, and we are experiencing severe health consequences. Over 31 individuals among us have been diagnosed with various cancers, and some have tragically lost their lives. Our concerns have been exacerbated by inadequate testing procedures that failed to identify forever chemicals like PFAS and PFOA, which pose severe long-term health risks. The recent presentation and testing results provided at the Pitter Road environmental meeting on April 27, 2023, left us unsatisfied and lacked a viable plan of remediation. Today, we demand immediate action and justice. We call for a comprehensive investigation led by impartial experts addressing all harmful substances, including forever chemicals. Transparency and accountability are non-negotiable. We want regular updates and involvement in decision-making, ensuring that all responsible parties are held accountable. We demand a detailed plan for the remediation and restoration of our land and water sources. The health and well-being of our community must be prioritized, and steps must be taken to prevent future contamination. Lastly, we seek comprehensive support systems for affected individuals, providing access to health care, counseling, and financial assistance. In unity, we raise our voices for a healthier, safer future for Pitter Road and Star Drive. Our 203 signatures represent a collective commitment to justice. Together, let's stand together, ensuring the devastating impact of industrial dumping is urgently and transparently addressed.
Thank you, Kiera. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Jayana Flint, and I come to you on behalf of again 290 Pitter Road. So I'm going to follow up those concerns with a series of questions. I have two sets of questions. The first set of questions pretty much address the economic development of the community for Pitter Road. The second set concerns addresses the environmental concerns from the Pitter Road residents. So firstly, are there any plans for Pitter Road as it pertains to the 20-year plan proposed by Athens-Clarke County Planning Commission? And if so, what are those plans? What are the implications of the 20-year plan for the residents of Pitter Road? As in, how will they be directly impacted? Regarding the Pitter Road or DuPont, I don't know what it's called these days, industrial tract, are there any plans to bring an economic development center and/or employment center to the area? And if yes, will there be relocation efforts for the residents of Pitter Road because the risk of another toxic leak remains prevalent? This next set of questions, as I said, concern the residents of Pitter Road, the environmental concerns of residents. DuPont was sued for their role in the production of toxic chemical PFAS in 1999. Why were tests conducted in search of radon and not PFAS, knowing DuPont's history of negligence? This flaw in investigation led the EPA and EPD to find no evidence that would warrant further action. That flaw enabled more than 20 years of poisoning, toxic poisoning of the residents of Pitter Road, cancer clusters, late-stage diagnosis, and death. According to Athens-Clarke County, limited access to private land. Did you ask anyone to test their wells? And if so, who? As of today, have you asked anyone to test those wells? And if so, who? With more than 30 confirmed cases of cancer along this one road in Athens-Clarke County, Athens-Clarke County found no evidence that would raise environmental justice-related issues. My goodness, we are asking Athens-Clarke County for a thorough investigation into the water and soil testing for Pitter Road communities. And if contaminants are found, we are requesting comprehensive blood panel testing for those exposed. We were made aware of some funds allocated for Pitter Road. We're not sure, but with those funds, can we allocate and use those funds to secure real political clout, a real lawyer to get this thing unsealed? Because we're not starting at square one with this. Thank you, Davenport. Thank you, Link. Thank you, Hull, because we watched those videos in agony and it didn't make sense to us either. So thank you. And one last question, we were wondering, can we please get a copy of all files and documents that Athens-Clarke County has associated with Pitter Road as of today? Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Flint. Other input from members of the public on any item not on tonight's agenda? Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Karina Gallagher. I live at 325 Ray Street. I kind of don't want to go after them. I support everything that they asked for. I just wanted to say that on the old business agenda, I appreciate that at least half of the agenda was directly or indirectly in support of our youth, which y'all know I'm the biggest champion for our youth, so I'm very excited to see that y'all are making some real tangible decisions about our youth and the future of Athens. That is very exciting to me. Them. Like I'm shaking. Them. I would love for us to also start evaluating and holding accountable not just our youth service organizations, youth serving organizations, but the hundreds of organizations that were established in Athens to help us move the needle on all of our community issues. And I think a great way to do that is to start with our youth serving organizations and then expand out, especially considering how there's so much money floating around to newly established organizations and county organized organizations. So we definitely need a lot more accountability and evaluation. This group.
Good evening.
Hey, good evening, Broderick Flanagan, P.O. Box 295, Athens, Georgia. I did want to ask a question about the developments that was discussed earlier with the housing development. If they do come back and submit a planned development, I was wondering, where are you all on the community benefits agreements ordinance? I know at one point in time y'all were discussing, going down that road to discuss that type of policy. I would love to know where you are in that process and if this is an appropriate opportunity to use that type of ordinance. Some commissioners that we spoke with from Economic Justice Coalition, when we were promoting community benefits agreements, were asking questions of that sort, like when is the appropriate time to engage in those type of conversations. So just wanted to remind you of that. And then also, yeah, want to speak in support of the Pitted Road community and Justice 31. I've been at many meetings over the years where we were talking about this very same issue, and it's disheartening to see that it has come to this point where all the families have to come up here where we couldn't get something done sooner, and they couldn't get redress, and they couldn't get their issues addressed appropriately and properly. And so I hope this time around they do seek to get remedy and get those questions asked, those poignant questions that were just asked. And I want y'all to know that y'all have my personal full support. I can't speak for our entire organization, but I will talk to our board of directors about supporting you all. Thank you.
Anyone else here to speak to any item not on the agenda? Good evening.
Hi, my name is Thelma Griffith. I'm here to find out why property of mine, a road, was stopped being maintained, 150 yards, foot of it, due to the fact that you guys didn't have any money back. But you're still getting my money, and as far as the water runoff, that's an act of God, but yet I still have to pay. I've talked with two of the guys concerning the transportation, but that is what they're saying. What's her name? She didn't say. When would that be picked back up?
What's the road, ma'am?
674 Pine Log Road.
674
Pine Log Road.
Pine Log. Thank
I
you.
have acres down there. They said they was out of money due to the fact they stopped maintaining it. I have to go through the mud when it rains. If I'm paying taxes, what am I paying it for?
We'll
It's the
check
act
on
of
that.
God, you know.
If you leave your contact information with the attorney, we'll get back to you.
Okay. And I did receive a letter concerning some property. I don't know when you guys gonna get to this. Olympic, Athena, Anderson Lane. It was sent out.
Again, if you leave your contact information with the attorney, I'll be in touch with you.
Okay.
She didn't fill out a card.
Anyone else here to speak to any item not on tonight's agenda?
It might be on that letter.
All right, I've got a couple items. A couple notes. I believe at the last meeting, it was noted that we now have an audit committee in place, and so Commissioner Myers, Commissioner Fisher serve on that, and of course, 3 resident members are Dr. Zernona Thomas, Carl Blunt, and Beth Higgins have an initial charge for that committee. And charge will be that as a committee, I ask you to review and agree on rules of order and set procedure for meeting protocol, to elect a chair to serve as leader of the audit committee, ensuring proper decorum and timely continuance of business per the agenda. 3, to become acquainted with the role of internal auditor and the operational analysis office in terms of function, responsibility, staffing, budget, capability, and partnership. 4, formalize a meeting schedule for the fiscal year 23-24. And then finally, to draft a work plan of audits to be undertaken in FY24. So I've got that in writing, so I'll send that out to everybody. Well, follow up also on the Athens-Clarke County Business Development and Workforce Support Task Force that was subject to a previous agenda item. So I'm excited that Commissioners Myers and Taylor have agreed to co-chair. And then we have Ilka McConnell from the Athens-Clarke County Department of Economic Development, Michelle Pearson from the Minority Business and Nonprofit Corporation, Shane Blackwell from the Northeast Georgia Black Chamber of Commerce, Dodd Farrell, who in addition to serving as mayor of Winterville is on the Joint Development Authority of Athens-Clarke County and Winterville, David Bradley from the Athens Area Chamber of Commerce, Broderick Flanagan, who you met earlier, from the Economic Justice Coalition, Al McCall from Athens Technical College, Sally Kimmel Shepard from Envision Athens, Matthew Epperson, cooperative advocate, and then representatives to be named from Family Connection Communities and Schools of Athens and the Athens Community Career Academy or Clarke County School District. So those members will begin meeting late this month.
Will you send us that as well?
And I will send that to you as well. And appreciate everybody coming out late this evening, and just want to pledge to you that I'll engage particularly with those federal authorities that have regulatory authority over the questions that you have in front of you. So I want to go ahead and ask the manager if he has anything for us tonight.
Thanks, Mayor. Just briefly, there was some conversation, some points made about collaboration. I think there was a lot of important work done tonight. That's the culmination of talks and time and you know, bringing different perspectives and ideas together. Obviously, there's still a lot more work to do. But I just wanted to call out that, you know, collaboration between the university and Athens-Clarke County in the form of the transit agreement, the Boys and Girls Club, which is a culmination of a CDO that was made back in January this year. And of course, Mayor, you mentioned the ongoing conversations and exploration of how we can better serve this community with other partner institutions like the Clarke County School District. So y'all ran an efficient meeting tonight, but I think it's important to note, as we started with some good news and recognizing some good things in the community, that we also note that collaboration is going well.
Anything, Attorney Drake?
No, Your Honor. No, Mr. Mayor.
Anything? I got a promotion and a raise all at once. Auditor Hassemer?
Not tonight, thank you.
All right. We'll go ahead and begin with Commissioner Hamby and circle around to Commissioner Davenport.
Yeah, Mayor, I'm good. I'm good. I appreciate it and appreciate everybody coming out tonight to speak, and appreciate y'all's support on 125 Baxter. You know, I think when people are concerned about their neighborhood and concerned about our future land use plan and growth, that's a discussion that warrants a big discussion amongst us and amongst the public. So I look forward to that as well. Thank you.
The only thing I want is, first of all, I do want to acknowledge and thank the Pitter Road community coming out and have been meeting. A lot of times we meet and then it gets dropped and they have to come back. But Mayor, I know you take a lot of notes as people speak, but I would suggest that some of the questions that were given to us, maybe we can get a copy of them, get to the manager's office for the next meeting. And I also would like to suggest, we always do things by committees, is that we do form with Dunlap, a committee to delve into this, the environmental justice issues. So I don't think they want to come back and repeat themselves. So I would like for us to take a proactive move. I don't know if we can do it tonight or we need to talk about it, but we need to have a group that is going to take this information and move it forward. And we're talking about collaboration, so we definitely need to work with Dunlap. I don't know who your leaders are, but we don't need to just wait and roll it over. So I wish you would consider some type of committee or next steps, maybe working with the manager's office.
All right. I'll contemplate some options and send some email out.
Okay.
Yeah, I also wanted to thank the Justice 31 folks for coming out. I think your comments were it was all really well presented, and I know that the mayor took really great notes, but I would love having your comments sent to us so we can really think about that there. And I know I wasn't able to make that meeting that you all had back in April, and that link to that meeting would be good as well. But thank you for coming out. There's a lot of different entities in DuPont and the federal government and EPA, but I think that we should pull our heads together as a local government and see how we could help you address the concerns that you brought up tonight. I also want to thank Mr. Flanagan for bringing up the CBA policy or ordinance again, because I know when that came up before, I put a lot of effort in trying to figure out how the community benefits works, and I think and we were all like, oh man, we need to get ahead of this for the next time, and I think we still need to do that, whether it's for whatever kind of development it is, so that we all know how to implement or encourage residents to use the community benefits ordinances. But finally, I have to thank the city employees, the utility workers, and all the tree clearing businesses who came out and helped all over the community. Some of us were hit harder than others. I know my neighborhood had about 48, 50 hours of no power, and it makes you very much aware of how we need to pull together a community in terms of dealing with issues that people are facing, whether it's environmental ones and environmental issues going forward. I mean, how did we see how much like what it is like living without electricity in the heat of the summer and how difficult that is? I'm hitting Medicare age really soon. Tick, tick, tick till next week. But, another 25 years, dealing with the heat and dealing with young kids. So it made me very aware of our vulnerability to these really extreme weather events, but also how important it is for us to work together and appreciate the community as well. So I thank that, and I thank all my neighbors for sharing great information about Georgia Power Trucks.
I'd like to piggyback off what Blaine said earlier. I'm encouraged by what we did tonight with the steps we took with the contract with the Boys and Girls Club, and also the partnership between the government and the school district to invest in youth development and violence prevention. That's very encouraging. Also, the partnership with the UGA to share federal transit funds, and look forward to future partnerships with our UGA neighbors. And I'd like to piggyback what Commissioner Myers and Thornton said about the Justice 31. I would like, hopefully we can further investigate that and get some answers for that group.
Yeah, I'll chime in to say I also support us taking thoughtful, meaningful action on Pitter Road and Star Drive, and to do that in collaboration with the directly affected residents who we've seen present and represented here tonight. I think beginning by the requests articulated by Mayor Pro Tem Thornton tonight is a great way to start. I also want to echo Commissioner Myers' remarks regarding the storm, and to look ahead on that matter. I know that staff has been working well before that storm hit on a hazard mitigation plan update, and I look forward to seeing how that might capture a lot of what we're talking about so we can have a thoughtful, collaborative response on providing people shelter and providing, appropriate response when trees start flying into people's homes, because it's going to keep happening. I also wanted to raise up another environmental concern. A few of you whose districts abut the part of Jackson County in question were copied on an email I sent yesterday, but obviously we're all focused on today's meeting. But there's a proposed rock quarry in Jackson County. And there's not quite a bit, there's a little bit of information on the internet you can find. I think WGAU did an article. There's a group called Citizens for Sustainable South Jackson County. That GAU article links to a violation tracker for the company Vulcan Materials. But it certainly raised a lot of red flags for me about a potential future environmental threat coming that's not really within our purview because it's over the county line, but it might have a real effect on people within our county. So I would like to get some clarity from staff on if staff maybe shares those concerns. I'm just kind of a dummy reading some stuff that sounds scary. It would be nice to know if there's good evidence to back up based on what I've read, is pretty alarming. And I invite any colleagues to talk more about that if you'd like. I also wanted to say I really appreciated I don't know if we thank Mayor Pro Tem for this maybe, and Mayor for the opening ceremony, but I really like that. I like to see who else we can elevate in future meetings.
Commissioner Thornton was the projector.
So thanks. That was good stuff. And the last thing, I just want to clarify, both for my sake and for the public, we have 2 work sessions next week. Is that right?
Correct.
On the 8th and the
Tuesday
10th
and
at 5:30?
Oh, boy.
Okay, so Tuesday and Thursday, 8th and 10th, 5:30 here. Yeah. Thanks.
Again, I want to thank Justice 31 for coming out. You enlightened me and opened my eyes the things that I wasn't aware of. So thank you for coming out and sharing with this commission, and we're gonna do something. I mean, we got to. We can't continue to let this go on. So I feel confident that we need to do something, and we got to move on this. It actually is a tragedy, to be honest with you, about what's been happening. Several things I want to talk about. On this Thursday at 5:30 at Ebenezer Baptist Church, we'll be doing a gang education, and mainly we're trying to focus on our parents to come out and learn from our public safety officials. There's going to be a mother there whose son was lost to gang violence, and we really want to educate our parents, because your child come on wearing red and blue and different colors all the time, that's a sign. So we want to educate our parents and let them know what's going on and how to look at these things from your kids. So 5:30, Ebenezer Baptist Church, that on Thursday, this Thursday coming. This weekend, I attended about 4 or 5 back-to-school events. They was fantastic. Like Mel said, on Sunday, at Cedar Shows with the Twin Angels, it was great. The gym was hot as all get out, but we had a great time. It was packed. Matter of fact, they still had stuff left over. But I say that to say this. I mentioned to Commissioner Taylor and to the mayor, we need to do a community-wide back to school. Bring all our partners in. Bring all our nonprofits in, our faith-based community. Every group that gives stuff to kids, we need to be in one location. So hopefully we will have that conversation as a commission, and how we can come together and bring our whole community together when we're looking at back to school. So I think that, to me, that's important, and that's what we should be doing as a community. And I appreciate what the nonprofits and the faith-based community do, and there's a lot of those that go around, but let's just do one big event to really bring all our communities together. So I like to see that moving forward. Again, I want to thank my colleagues for voting on the contract with the Boys and Girls Club. I want to thank Manager Williams' office, Attorney Drake's office for putting all this together to help make this happen. So thank you all very much. And again, thank our colleagues. I'm looking forward to that moving forward. But again, thank everybody for coming out tonight. We got a lot of stuff done, and I'm looking forward over the next several months to getting other good things going and get this community moving in the right direction.
Well, everybody's covering everything. The main thing I brought in to thank staff about was what Commissioner Myers touched on, was the long hours of clearing the vehicle ways, and I saw on the Greenway, there were a lot of trees down there too, so there was a lot of our pathways and vehicle roadways that took a lot of long hours, and they swiftly moved in and opened things up, and so the utilities could come in and do what they needed to. And then people always forget we have a lot of our employees that are 24/7, 365 days out of the year, and when we're all, whether we have power or not, we're safe in our homes. They're out in the element and getting things back in order for all of our community. And I just wanted to focus my appreciation on that comment.
I appreciate everything that's been said tonight, all of the collaborations, staff working to get all of the trees and things cleared so that everyone is safe. I respect the Justice 31 for coming out and standing up. I hope that communities that's watching can take note to what they've done today, and this is how you do it. I would also like to pat myself on the back because my organization gave a lot of kids uniforms, and so kudos to me. And thanks to all of the people that donated to my organization who was, gave us the stability to be able to give. So that's all.
Yeah, I also want to thank staff for all the hard work they did cleaning up after the storm a couple weeks ago. And I want to note that more of those storms are coming. Last month was the hottest month in 120,000 years. So Mother Nature is pissed. We've destroyed the planet, destroyed the climate, and we're paying for it. And not only do we need to clean up after those messes, but we need to replant those trees. From what I understand, over 100 trees came down on roads alone in Athens-Clarke County. So I would ask the mayor maybe if he could engage with the tree council for some plans, not just hazard mitigation plans, you know, about how we're going to avoid damage done by fallen trees, but how we're going to replant some of these trees. There are lots of roadsides and parking lots where trees have died off. I feel like we really need to do an assessment throughout the county of where we need to replace and replant trees, and also mitigate landscapes with native plants. There was an article recently about some work that UGA is doing with Keep Athens-Clarke County Beautiful, and replacing kudzu along the loop with native plants. And it's really vital that we support our native ecosystem and our native habitats, because those are things that are adding to some of the ecosystem collapse. So I do hope that we can engage some of the existing groups and maybe start up some new initiatives so we can really impact our environment, not just in adapting to climate change, but also doing a little bit of healing for the damage that's done.
All righty, I'm gonna be long-winded, so y'all just bear with me. I'm just kidding. So, welcome back, John Hawkins, and we have not. We pretty much took July off, but can we not have fireworks at the airport? Can we look at another place, another spot for next year? And motion to adjourn.
I've got a motion from Commissioner Davenport, second from Commissioner Houle.
One thing I forgot to bring up, I'm so sorry. Go to accgov.com/ARPA, that's ARPA, or accgov.com/HCD. We have 2 huge strategic plans coming down the pike in the next 2 months for affordable housing and homelessness, and there's like a dozen community meetings planned around those. So go to those websites to get those dates and info. Yeah.
All in favor of adjourning, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, we stand adjourned.